What's up, guys? We're back here at Logpose Lounge. These guys thought that we disappeared. Our viewers have informed us that there's some posters out there, and we want to strike back with Mewtwo Strikes Back, the Pokemon the first movie.
Thanks, Adrian, for the introduction. Our plan is to talk about all of the Pokemon movies, from the first movie to the jungle.
Secret of the
one.
Jungle.
Yeah. With us on this video, we have the old Logpose Lounge group back together. We have Adrian, Popo, Parth, and me, Chris. I just want to go over everyone's history with Pokemon anime. Like, how'd you get into it? Like, do you remember, like, the first episode you watched?
Well, I think like every other kid, it was just shoved down my throat like everybody else.
I'm agree with Popo.
But no, my mom got me a VHS tape of the first couple episodes of Pokemon, and I sort of just fell in love and followed it from there. Fell off for a while, but then during COVID, I decided to rewatch the entire series because I never actually finished it, and there's a lot I missed, and ended up getting through it, and it was quite enjoyable.
I'm agree with Popo, and I'm pretty excited to, doing this, watching the all Pokemon movies. It's going to be a really exciting time going back to the 90s and kind of coming across modern day with, again, Secret of the Jungle. But my introduction to the anime was, like what Popo said, it was kind of hard to avoid Pokemon in the 90s. I think I watched an episode, the 4Kids version, and yeah, just fell in love with the series. I think like when it comes to like the anime, it's kind of hard to ask me which came first. Was it the cards, the game, or the anime? I can't remember which one came first, but I watched the anime up to, I believe it was the Johto series, and yeah, that's when I kind of stopped, but still continued with the games. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, like Popo, I went to a friend's house who had the first like VHS of the first 4 episodes, and during that sleepover, we rewatched those episodes 5 times, and after that, it was just kind of every morning before school there was a new episode on. I had 4Kids, so I'd watch that before school. And I think, like Adrian, though, I fell off at Johto, but then when my sister was old enough to start watching, she was watching, and then we watched some Pokemon events in that era of Pokemon. But I didn't really get that far into that. What about you, Parth?
Yeah, I would say probably the same thing. For me, it was just, I think it was kind of unavoidable, whether it was Pokemon cards or the games on Game Boy. All the other kids had it. They were playing with it. So it just naturally, eventually I got exposed to it. But I remember watching Kids WB when I was a little kid, and I would watch on TV all the time before and after school on weekends. I would rent VHS tapes from Blockbuster or Hollywood. And yeah, it was just something that I got into because all the other kids were into it, and it piqued my interest. My cousins had Pokemon cards, and I remember they had like duplicate cards that they gave me, and that allowed me to like start having my own set. And then there was obviously like Happy Meal toys and things like that were cool to kind of just indulge in, as it was just this growing phenomenon in the 90s into the 2000s. I never had my own Game Boy, but I did play the games whenever I was at my cousin's or friend's house. So, yeah, that's pretty much how I got exposed to it.
Nice. Now, let's get into the first movie. Does anyone remember, or did anyone go see this in theaters when it originally came out?
I did see it. I just can't remember it. I know I saw this movie in theaters when it came out, and there was like a lot of hype behind it, especially being an elementary kid. Again, like it's what we've been saying, it's hard to avoid. But yeah, I ended up seeing it. I remember specifically the Burger King Golden Plate cards that came with the like a Pokeball in the kids meal. And yeah, I mean that's like the most fondest memory. It's funny because I remember seeing the movie, but the most fondest memory is definitely just getting that golden plate.
Yeah.
Same here.
I remember being super enchanted as a kid over the first Pokemon movie because it felt like it, in a weird way, kind of completed something Obviously, I was into TV shows and anime, but I was also really into Disney movies. So it was just really cool to have a movie based off of a cartoon and anime that I really enjoyed at the time. So for me, it was a big deal. I don't recall if I actually saw the first one in theaters, but I do remember, checking it out from the library multiple times. And I remember at times it was not available because people were, renting out the movie from the library. But yeah, I mean, I remember watching it multiple times as a kid because it was one of my favorites, and even renting out like the original soundtrack for the movie because they had a lot of bangers on there that I felt like they did a really good job with the production for the music and all that. So I know 4Kids gets a bad rap for sabotaging a lot of series and censoring a lot of things, but I thought they handled the Pokemon series pretty well.
Yeah. As for me, I remember seeing it with my dad and my brother. We went to Marcus Theater Classic, and it was like a pack theater going there. And yeah, I got the Dragonite like movie card, and I think my brother got the Pikachu one. Do you guys remember the promotion cards that they had?
I don't remember them, to be honest.
Well, yeah, there was like 4 different cards, like Electabuzz, which I don't know why he was picked, but Mewtwo, Pikachu, and Dragonite were the cards for the movie.
Well, now that you mention it, I do remember them now.
Wait, why Electabuzz? He wasn't even
Yeah,
in
that's
the
why
movie,
I don't know. I was
Unless
like, why?
he was in that. Was he in like the beginning Pokemon battle when that random trainer challenged? I don't remember seeing him even.
I think maybe he may have been in that.
That's all I could think of.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember him.
I do. I just remember there was like a bunch of like evolved Pokemon in the beginning that this dude had, and he still got his ass whooped by starters. By the starters.
Machop lost to a Squirtle.
Yeah, just like the plot armor.
We'll get into it. Give me a bit. Yeah. We'll get into that.
I want to say that Pikachu card, damn, it's like, it's so sad. Like, it's such a weak card. Alright, continue.
Yes, this movie was released in July 18th, 1998 in Japan, and November 10th, 1999 in the US, and it made $172 million worldwide, which I feel like is a pretty big deal for international cartoon, essentially.
Yeah,
just shows how big it was. And I think Burger King, right, had like the toys, like Adrian was saying.
From what I remember is they just had the golden trading cards. I just remember my first one picking that up, and it was just so surreal. And it's just like I felt like a Pokemon trainer holding that Pokeball. It was fucking massive.
Yeah, I remember them, I think, recalling them because a kid like choked on it or something. So like, and I think they were just giving out like cards at the end of the run of those, which was funny. I was like, oh, I wanted the Pokemon toy, not this stupid card.
Yeah, but like, how do you choke on that thing? It's the size of the grapefruit. That's
but it's silly. Also, I found out that when the movie VHS, when that came out in the US, they like cropped a quarter of the movie because it was formatted in full screen, which I think was the standard for the time. You couldn't see like a lot of scenes and characters were just cut out of the film because it was cropped that way. And they didn't even release like a better version until like 10 years later, which is kind of crazy that like most kids, that's what they saw. And I guess we can get into the movie after this part, but the beginning of the movie was actually not even in the English cut either. The Mewtwo's backstory part with the little girl.
I was definitely surprised by that because like, it was like, it had me thinking, was this in the original? Like, am I forgetting? Did I forget this? But then I'm like, okay, this had to be something that was only Japanese exclusive.
I was gonna say it would have explained a lot. Like, explained a lot of his sadness and his like gripe with actually being who he was in that certain situation. And it's like, because when I rewatched it last week, it's like, wait, I don't remember. But it's like, maybe I haven't seen it in a while, so I just kind of rolled with it. I'm like, okay, And it's like, but I do remember Pikachu's Vacation. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I think
I couldn't find that anywhere to watch,
Yeah.
so I
I
don't
mean,
know.
honestly, I didn't. Those Pokemon shorts in the beginning, I didn't even rewatch those because I didn't have
yeah,
access to that.
Yeah,
I think we
I was
just
trying to
gonna
find
review
it,
this.
but yeah, I don't know where they are. But it was like Raichu and Pikachu like racing or something, right?
Yeah.
Popo? Yeah.
That sounds familiar. And then like
Yeah,
the
right.
backstory of Mewtwo, still didn't even rewatch that part. That wasn't like on the streaming video that I watched, but
Yeah, apparently
um,
that's not
You missed out.
that was only there's no like official release of that other than like a DVD of another movie it was in there. So, but I guess
okay.
the version that I found, you can say, had it. The one me and Adrian watched had it.
Yeah.
And I guess
When I
Popo
was
sounds
watching
like
it,
Popo watched it too.
when I was watching it, I was like, "Yo, this is literally Shadow the Hedgehog."
I was saying the same thing.
I'm like, "Oh, the little girl's Maria. She's gonna get shot at any point." It was just dying. It was just crazy. I'm like, okay, this kind of explains his like hatred towards humanity. I promise you, revenge, Maria.
Mm, I guess not having seen that backstory and just purely rewatching the movie by itself, Mewtwo's intentions just seem revenge on the basis of the fact that, he felt clones were superior, not because he was doing it in the name of someone that.
Yeah, it felt kind of half explained, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will say it kind of felt it felt believable, but it felt like a very quick conclusion that he came to that, oh, I'm nothing more than an experiment, on behalf of clones, I will take over the world.
Yeah, because I just kind of broke it down to the fact that he's Mewtwo, a clone, so therefore clone Pokemon are superior because I was built to be superior. So he rather than go catch inferior Pokemon, he just made his own superior Pokemon. That's why Charizard was born with his stripes. And unlike Ashes, he actually listened to him.
Well, given Mewtwo's like motivation and in the movie overall, what do you guys think about rewatching this movie again?
It was nostalgic as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
Oh, I don't know
But
if I
then
had that feeling.
Yeah, I don't know that either.
There was like some good moments, like oh yeah, like definitely like nostalgic inducing. However, I feel like there were some moments where like, damn, like as a 30-year-old, like this is tough to watch sometimes.
Like some of it was just cringy and corny, but I feel like that's natural when
Hmm.
you're watching like kids cartoons or TV shows. Um, Looking back, like it's obviously not as you'd remember, but I definitely felt like a connection to it rewatching it. It brought back memories. It definitely stirred up similar emotions. I obviously wasn't crying. Um, where I didn't feel like saddened by the plot at all, just because I thought it was a pretty simple message that the movie was trying to convey. But rewatching it and I did cry a couple of times when I was a kid.
I mean, I'm in agreement with Parth. Like, I remember as a kid that scene at the very end, where Ash dies and the Pokemon kind of resurrect him. Like, it definitely caught me as a kid because I was definitely bawling too. But like, and not to say it wasn't emotional, but it's like, bro, not to victim blame, but like, bro, you definitely deserve that for walking into a fight with two legendary Pokemon. Come on, bro. Like,
Well, I personally thought that I remember crying when Pikachu started crying and would kept zapping Ash. I remember that was like a really emotional moment for me as a kid because, I mean, I think as a kid identified with Ash and how he was chasing something and trying to like prove himself. And so I always like identified with him as a main character for a multitude of reasons, including that. But just seeing him like turn into a statue and me obviously being a fan of his relationship with Pikachu and seeing Pikachu cry. That really got me emotionally. And then seeing all the other Pokemon cry, I remember crying with all the Pokemon, but then rewatching it, I was like, why do these clones, like, why are the clones crying? What the fuck? It almost doesn't make any sense. And then, like, the immediate conclusion that Mewtwo draws is, wow, I guess, Pokemon and humans are not so different after all. It's like, you got all that from just Pikachu crying. Like, I understand the link, but I just felt like they just rushed to the conclusion so quickly.
You got a good Brother My Brother song and all that.
Yeah, that was actually that was low key. Like, I remember when I watched it, I felt like it was tugging at me for some reason. Like, why does this like feel sorrowsome or like sorrowful or anything like that? Like, why does this feel sad? Just watching them all just go at it, and then you start watching them pass out on top of each other as they're fighting, and it's just, oh man.
Yeah, but they like keep fighting. Even like the Pikachu versus Pikachu kind of. Pikachu's just like taking those slaps, and it's kind of sad to see.
Yeah, but also it's kind of weird that they just kind of just use pound or whatever move was that. I'm like, yo, like just use electric. I know like electric's not effective against electric, but I don't know. It's just like
Pikachu doesn't know better.
Pikachu didn't want to fight.
Yeah, Pikachu was using lightning against Rock Ash, He should have, if he had Iron Tail, he would have been good.
Iron Tail wasn't even a move yet.
That is true. But also like what's kind of weird is like we're watching that scene again, it's like so these two powerful legendaries draw out a psychic attack and then it makes Ash into stone? Like what?
Well, they can't show death on a kid's cartoon, so they have to turn him into stone.
They should have just made him pass out or something.
Like in our reality, it would have exploded.
Oh yeah.
And then also like with the tears kind of revive Ash, like where does that come from? Like magic exists in Pokemon now? Like I don't know what to draw from that.
They pull him from the light.
That's true. It doesn't really make sense, but it's a kid's show.
I mean, yeah, it's a kid's movie, but it's like yeah, like stuff should follow your game. Sorry, not game, but like anime logic a little bit. Okay, so one thing I will say about this movie that kind of like irked me, like rewatching it, is how just Mew just shows up, and like I feel like there wasn't enough time given for Mew. Like yeah, I had the backstory at the very beginning. I don't know. I just feel like Mew's presence.
What? What do you mean?
I disagree because they were kind of like Mew has been like he was like flying around throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was like setting up to them seeing each other.
He sensed his other half.
Okay. I feel like Mew should.
And he followed the trail.
I feel like Mew should have had a voice. Controversial opinion.
I feel like Mew was just awoke. Like it was like I don't know if Mew was dormant or just hibernating or what, and it just awoke because it sensed in the world that something was up, and it was a link to Mewtwo being out there, and so Mew just started flying around, and like just because it was awake, it was indulging in nature and doing silly things like playing around with the windmill fan.
Yeah, I did like
hibernating. Like I just assumed that it had been hibernating for a while. It awoken. It was just getting reacquainted with nature, while also trying to suss out what's going on in the world, and that's why it showed up, because it sensed Mewtwo out there. Like they were, even though Mew's the original and Mewtwo's the clone, they have a link or something. That's kind of how I took it.
This is where my controversial opinion comes in. This is what my original argument's going to be. Sorry. I feel like Mew should have had a voice. Mew should have had a voice, like telepathically communicated with Mewtwo, and like they should have had like some disagreement, and like in my opinion, because like I feel like
computer talk no jutsu his way out of it.
I mean, they still communicate. Like Pokemon communicate, even though Mewtwo was speaking English or the human language, and Mew was talking in Pokemon tongue. They still understood each other, and they were talking with each other. I just think that like it wouldn't have made sense because even
No.
the scientists in the beginning said that they developed through their research a way to embed human qualities within this clone version of me, which is why he had the ability to communicate in English telepathic.
I think
And then
I think
one thing
Pokemon
I could add to that is we had the little moment between the two Meowths, and then Meowth kind of filled that gap, and he's just like they're looking at this fight like, yeah, this whole fight is pointless. And that's ultimately
Yeah.
what the point that they were getting at, and it's like, okay, so that's Mew's side,
yeah, I understand that, but
and
I
that's
feel like
also it's also coming from a clone.
I feel like Pokemon Jesus should have had a voice. Controversial take here. My hot take, okay? I think it would have added more element to like you were saying, Buzz, like, convincing Mew to not go down this path of revenge. And kind of would have
I mean,
hammered
I
home.
don't think that was, but I don't think that was Mew's role. Mew showed up after Mewtwo already was on the path, and
But no, I mean,
Mewtwo-
but it means like Mew could have like talked no Jutsu Mewtwo out of it, like, oh, like,
I feel like they started fighting because like they whatever implicit communication they had, which wasn't apparent or shown in the movie, like it just wasn't working. The only thing that really got through to Mewtwo was when Ash, quote unquote, sacrificed himself, and it made him realize that humans are capable of caring about Pokemon, and I don't know, that really resonated with Mewtwo and made him realize that it's not worth, I guess, taking over the world.
I guess I kind of see Adrian's point. Like, I know Mew was teased throughout the movie, but like, why does he just show up just to fight Mewtwo? Like, it's
Yeah, I
Mew's,
wasn't like
Mew's not really in it enough, or like Mew doesn't really have a presence
that's what
that
I'm
it
saying.
matters. Like, I don't know. It feels like he shows up just because we need
No,
to have
he
a
didn't
fight.
show up just to fight.
No.
Mew showed up to the workshop out of curiosity. He was like playing
Yeah,
around with
that's what I
all
was-
the machinery and shit.
That's
He
what I
didn't
was
show up to
saying.
fight.
He was. That's what I was saying. He was in hibernation, and something woke him up, and then he was getting reacquainted with nature and stumbled. Like he was probably following whatever thing he was sensing. And
Yeah, but once
Mewtwo
Mew
was the one
showed
that
up,
just-
Mewtwo started the fight with him. Like
Yeah, it
Mewtwo
was Mewtwo.
started Mew fucking around and playing and being goofy with its bubble, and Mewtwo was like, "Well, what the fuck, Mew?" And he just started fighting with him. Mew didn't show up to fight; he just showed up to be curiosity and play around.
But I think that like personality that Mew is, I feel like that could have like had Mew had a voice, and I understand there's that.
But Mew's not a
implicit-
serious character. Mew was like an infant. It was playful. It had no. It wasn't like Mewtwo. It was the complete opposite. It was like a joyful, carefree little. Like it was young, apparently.
Yeah, but if it had a voice, and I understand there's that implicit conversation.
Why would it have a
had-
voice? If Mew talked, that would have been stupid. It would have ruined the whole movie if Mew was able to talk.
I'm sure there's other Pokemon in future movies that will have a human voice, so be prepared for that,
Yeah.
Alex.
But
think-
yeah, I know.
yeah.
Dalby and Jirachi spoke telepathically, but Jirachi
Yeah.
spoke telepathically through May.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if it had some sort of telepathically, like,
For what? Mew would have spoke telepathically through Ash as well. That would have been stupid.
Oh my God.
Who else
That-
would Mew have spoke telepathically through? Brock?
no, what I'm saying, if it spoke through telepathically with Mewtwo, having that dialogue, I think it could come back to, I think it would have been able to talk no Jutsu Mewtwo out of, like, hey, like I'm a carefree guy, like, like, I don't know, just kind of talk him out of revenge. Like, hey, you know what, like, we don't need to be fighting, like, there's much more to life than just being angry,
But then Mewtwo already decided there could only be one of them. So that was the whole point of it, and that was Mewtwo's point of fighting Mew.
Again, that's why I said
At
it's,
least that's
it's a
what I-
controversial opinion, okay?
I guess so. But no, I agree with Alex. I think that if Mew had a voice, it would have taken away. It would have been too much,
Well,
like doing too much.
like you said, Meow talks is pretty much the voice of Pokemon when he talks and like translates. They could have had him translate something that Mew said.
Yeah, he actually did in the movie though. He did. There was like a point when he was kind of explaining to Jesse and Jim what they were saying, I think. if I remember.
I feel like they
correctly.
had more moments like that. I think.
Yeah,
I
but
think.
then like it would take away from like the impact of Ash's actions because it's really Ash's actions that got through to Mewtwo. It wasn't like words, you know. So, but I understand your point. Like maybe there could have been an opportunity for some type of, you know, discourse between the original and the clone. But it's also a kids movie.
Yeah.
So
No, I
I
understand.
kind of feel like I actually really liked Mew's. I thought Mew was really cute. Like the voice, the just the demeanor, the nature, the carefree lightheartedness of it, despite the fact that it's, you know, in the movie prescribed as one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful Pokemon in history. Um, so I don't know, I kind of liked it. And I also felt like it helped draw a contrast. It really helped highlight how intelligent Mewtwo was because he was obviously a byproduct of an experiment where he's supposed to exhibit human qualities. And even though he's not physically talking, we can hear him speak the English language and have conversations in English because uh, we're sort of presuming that he's having those conversations because he understands how to communicate in the human language because that's what the scientists say they embedded in him as a quality. So for me, it was I see your point though, but I think I liked the contrast.
Can we talk about how Ash got an invitation to this island despite him being a trash trainer?
You mean the intro of the movie, the battle?
And not just that, I think his actions in the anime haven't like qualified for him to like get an invitation from Mewtwo.
I'm just gonna say, the
He
invitation
saw,
was.
he saw that plot armor and he's just like, I gotta invite this kid now.
I think it is more Mewtwo was looking at people who were close by, and Ash won one
True.
battle in front of him. A battle he should not have won, by the way. But
Right.
What are you talking about? His starter Pokemon are obviously beef and like I mean they got to be on something. All starter Pokemon defeating Golem and you know, like just what's that muscular Pokemon? The name loses me. Machamp and
Dolphin.
yeah, it's
Dolphin.
just,
yeah,
oh, and that's the other thing. They introduced a second gen Pokemon, and I don't know if anyone else caught that, but I was like, oh, I remember. Yeah, I remember as a kid being like, what the hell is this?
they also
And it just
introduced
kinda got glossed
Meryl
over.
in the Pikachu short as well during that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, like
But
and
didn't,
Pikachu
didn't-
one
didn't
v
the Orange
three
Battles come
the
out
rest
first?
of his team was pretty funny. Like, okay, sure.
Yeah,
I know
and
you're the
they
mascot,
introduced-
but whatever.
Yeah, they introduced a second gen Pokemon, but also the evolved version of a second gen. It wasn't Phanpy, it was the other one.
Don
that
fan.
it
Dolphin.
evolved
Yeah.
into. Yeah, so the fact that even Pikachu wiped the floor with that one, I thought that was
That wasn't
funny.
Pikachu.
Well, I mean, whatever, any
Well-
of the starters, the fact that they defeated evolved versions of Pokemon, including a Gen 2 Pokemon that they introduced, I thought it was kind of funny.
And he had no reaction
Bulbasaur
towards
beating
it.
Bulbasaur beating Donphan made sense because of the type advantage. But
Wait,
then
Bulbasaur
Wordle beat-
Dolphin? Wait, what are you talking about?
Bulbasaur beat Donphan.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm going crazy over here.
Yeah, come on now, do your homework.
No, I get that. It's just in general though, like when Pikachu joined the battle, it just freaking lit up 3 Pokemon at once, including Golem, which is like an evolved,
Yeah.
the most
That's a
the
ground
most
type, too.
evolved version of Geodude. So I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, and like Golem
Yeah, that made no sense.
Golem has a type resistance towards electricity. Electricity should not affect him.
I will
Yeah,
say
he's a fucking ground.
I do all the Pokemon movies I've seen. I do love the intro battles. You know, like you have the theme song playing over it. It's a nice like intro to the movie and what's to come. But it is silly that Ash like steamrolled this guy somehow.
Yeah, it's like, and I think I would have believed it a little bit
Well-
more if there was more time of the battle, like because they all get one-shotted. Like
Again,
that's
they,
the crazy
they have to
part.
have it. It's only like 2 minutes or however long the intro music lasts, because that's all they got.
But hang on, it's not even just the fact that Ash steamrolled this guy and his Pokemon steamrolled all these more evolved and potentially stronger Pokemon, but this guy went searching for Ash. He's like, "Are you Ash Ketchum from Palatine?" It's like, who the fuck is Ash? Who the hell is searching for Ash? Especially someone who happens to be a trainer with the caliber of catching or training Pokemon and having multiple evolved Pokemon compared to Ash. It's like, why the fuck would this guy even care about Ash?
Yeah, he doesn't even have a name. He's listed as pirate-like trainer in the script. So yeah, he's a nobody. How did he find out about Ash?
Yeah, because like Ash is like he's still a nobody. Like he only has like 8 badges.
Blood armor.
6 to 8 badges. I don't remember how much he has at this point.
Well, I'm saying
At
that
least
it's not just that. I'm not saying that he's a nobody. I'm saying like he's like Ash is a nobody because this guy actually has strong Pokemon that are evolved, which is indicative in my mind of a potentially stronger trainer, and yet he's out looking for small fry like Ash, as if Ash is some sort of famous, trainer from Palatown that he wants to challenge or test his skills against. It's like, that makes no sense. It'd make more sense if he like came across Ash's group and he's like, "Oh, are you Brock, the former gym leader of the Pewter City Gym?" That would make more sense, but it's just funny, the plot armor, how that facilitated that battle.
I just want to look something up real quick.
And it's so funny just kind of seeing the contrast of like Ash being on the island with the other trainers. Like all these other trainers, like they fuck. Like they have fully evolved teams, and it's like Ash is like, "Oh, here's my mediocre team."
These are like gym leader level Pokemon lineups that these guys have. And literally, I don't even remember if Ash had any evolved Pokemon with him that he displayed during the movie.
Charizard
Did he?
is the only one.
Charizard.
Yeah, Charizard, the one that doesn't listen because he's a horrible trainer.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, they barely made it to the island in that storm. I feel like they would have died if Mew didn't save them. So maybe they weren't worthy.
Wait, who saved?
Wait.
Wait, did you save them?
Wait,
No,
did
I
we?
think
Yeah, I thought-
it was a Pokemon that saved them.
Oh, Starmie? Was it Starmie?
Yeah, Starmie,
Yeah.
Staryu. I like how they were like, "Oh, our Pokemon can't brave these storms," and then they end up using the Pokemon.
Yeah, like
to
Gyarados
be
going through the
fair-
water. Gyarados going through the water makes sense.
Yeah.
Dugong going
be-
through the water
to be-
makes sense. Pidgeot flying makes sense. They jumped out of Squirtle. 2 people jumped out of
Yeah.
2 people jumped out of Squirtle, or 2 people jumped on Staryu, and 1 jumped on Squirtle, and they just braved a Category 5 hurricane.
I also thought it was funny
That's
that Misty, to save Togepi from drowning, she just like tightened her backpack. It's like, oh, Togepi will be fine in the backpack. He won't drown.
Let me just cut off all of her oxygen supply. That'll save her from taking any water in. Yeah, I thought that was funny. Also, when Jesse and James, I don't know if we're starting to talk about the plot or just random points now, but when Jesse and James showed up in the Viking boat with the outfits and they were using like these Viking accents, which just sound like Romanian accents.
Yeah.
I just thought that was hilarious.
I did like the nods to the Minnesota Vikings. That was funny.
Oh yeah, I was gonna bring up that joke. That was.
Yeah.
I was like, wow,
I
that's
mostly live in
Americanized for
Minnesota.
sure. I did think it was funny.
Yeah.
Like right before they left, like, oh yeah, our one Nurse Joy in this entire town is gone. So the Pokemon Center is just shut down. No one can run it except this one Nurse Joy. It's like
Yeah.
that seems like a
that's
bad.
That's the one job. Well, yeah, every single Pokemon Center has one person, so if Nurse Joy takes a day off, they're fucked.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of like comical moments like that. I felt like And like with the Nurse Joy thing, when they're like, "Oh, who is this lady? She looks so familiar." Like she's literally like Nurse Joy's cousin, identical twin cousin that
Yeah,
is
but it's
in every
Brocky's
single
powers.
Pokemon film.
He can tell the difference between every single Nurse Joy and Officer Jenny
Yeah.
because
True.
he's eyes so much that he can see every little minute detail.
Yeah, well, the other
can
funny
see-
thing
you can see-
about that scene was the harbor captain who was like with Officer Jenny warning people not to go.
Yeah, I was
Just,
going to bring
like,
her up now.
coincidentally
Wait, was she a captain? I thought she was more like a historian or something. She's like, oh, it's the ancient writings, yada yada. You know, it's like,
No,
okay, who
no,
are
I
you?
mean, well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, she's like the harbor captain, and she just coincidentally happens to be like this nutcase, like who believes in all these spiritual, like, philosophies, and she's like, "Oh no, you shouldn't go out. You shouldn't weather the storm." And then she had some corny line about those that weather the storm are the only ones that can become Pokemon masters, or some shit like that.
I feel like that's
just
like the
thought it was
opposite
funny.
of saying don't go out. It's like if you want to be a
Yeah.
Pokemon master, you better do the storm.
Well, the
Yeah.
thing is, would a Pokemon master listen to a side character?
Nope.
Exactly.
I'm gonna say it, but Team Rocket being the movie, like, not even needed.
No, definitely not.
Are they in?
I like that they called. I like that Meowth called. Real quick, just to divert a little bit. I like that Meowth called Sandshrew. They did that multiple times in the
Did
series.
you? There was like when they're in the speaking of that in the lab when they're like cloning the Pokemon. There's clearly a site there, and they're like Alakazam.
I think them doing like
Yeah.
who's that Pokemon reference was cool the first time, but then they did it like a second time.
They kept going, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, okay, this is an overkill, and this is why they shouldn't have been in this movie.
Who's that
Yeah.
Pokemon? It's Pikachu.
I feel like Team Rocket is such a like part of the series that I'm not surprised that they're in. I don't remember the other movies too much, but are they in all the movies? Team Rocket is Team Rocket in all the movies? Does anyone know?
Probably.
Yeah.
Don't remember.
I want to guess. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that
They're
they
in
are.
they're in the
but-
next movie for sure.
Yeah.
Imagine if Team Rocket just decided to ignore Ash for like a week. How much they'd get done. Because no one would be there to thwart their plans.
It is funny like how this is a tangent about Team Rocket, but it is funny how their plans actually kind of do work, even if they do kind of suck. But it's like, oh, we got Ash and we stole the gym leader's Pokemon, but oh no, Ash still won somehow, kind of thing.
Half the time they just stop to celebrate. And then they just caught up. It's like they're in a chase. They just stopped running. And then they're surprised. They're like, how did he find us?
Yeah.
Jeez. I hate Team Rocket so much. Like, I just... so many instances they should have died. So many. And they just didn't.
And who keeps giving them money for all these like crazy expensive machines and stuff? You know.
I think
They work
James-
like 90 hours a week on top of working full-time for Team Rocket.
Well, I guess James is he's rich, right?
Yeah,
he's
he
a
doesn't
rich
have his
man.
parents'
But,
money. They won't give it to him. He wouldn't
they
marry
got the
Jesse.
corporate card though. They got the Team Rocket corporate card.
And the Team Rocket corporate card are the worst employees on Team Rocket.
Well,
Like,
well, you know what? I
like-
will say this. Like kind of what Chris was saying, some of their ideas actually do work, and I do think some of their
Yes.
schemes are actually so genius, but they do get caught up, and a lot of it has to just do with their obsession with Pikachu because they
Mhm.
know this Pikachu is special, and even if they have like other killer Pokemon that they've captured, I remember there's like a couple of episodes where they do get caught up and obsessed with Pikachu, and that ends up foiling their entire scheme.
Exactly. And it's like, yeah, if Ash is going east and they decide to go west, how much they would get done. Because then no one would be there to thwart their plans, because Officer Jenny can't even arrest them. They have to rely on a 10-year-old boy and his friends.
Exactly.
And Officer Jenny is supposed to be the super cop, so good that they cloned her 72 times.
Speaking of Team Rocket, though,
Oh, that's my.
um,
What's up?
I thought it was weird that like Giovanni made this like cool armor for Mewtwo, and it didn't have anything like, oh shit, Mewtwo's gonna like betray me. I better put like this implant in or something to make him so he doesn't like to dampen his powers or something. But it's like, nope, you just made him stronger.
He overestimated his power.
I feel like,
his influence.
yeah, no,
He tried to
honestly,
brainwash him.
well, I don't even think he did a good job of trying to brainwash him, because at first he's like, those fools tried to make you an experiment or some shit like that, and he's like, but I want to make you my partner, and then he just like, he like wins Mewtwo over through that like approach, but then out of nowhere, one random day, he just decides to say, you're my bitch, you're a Pokemon, you're beneath me, and then just completely spoils his own, like, I don't know, protection and agency that he had with Mewtwo. It's like, that made absolutely no sense. Why would you, like, just out of the blue be like, actually, fuck it, I lied to you this entire time. I was manipulating you. You're actually just a fucking Pokemon, and you're my bitch. So he brought it on himself.
Yeah, I don't know what his plan was there. Like,
He was a Pokemon. He'd never be.
like he
Well,
wanted.
They showed him.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. Well, they showed. The other thing is they showed him like Mewtwo in the armor while he was working with Giovanni, helping Team Rocket to capture all these Pokemon. So if Giovanni was like running a black market for Pokemon and his, organization, one of their duties was to steal and capture as many Pokemon as possible, Mewtwo was like helping in that. And the fact that he just spoiled his own, I don't know, he spoiled the own relationship. He spoiled a relationship on his own. The fact that he did that was just stupid and nonsensical. But I think it's like more symbolic of just Team Rocket in general. They just get too greedy and caught up. And even if they could have had success with things, they always end up shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because he was a gym leader, but like Mewtwo was doing all the work in these battles. Even Gary got his ass kicked.
Yeah, dog walked. That was like one of my favorite parts in the movie, watching Gary lose.
Yeah, I like that too. It kind of felt like an Easter egg. Not exactly maybe what I'm not using the word correctly, but in the movie they didn't like technically show him fully. They just showed like a part of his sleeve and the back of his head, and you just kind of like picked up, oh shit, that's Gary. I just thought that was a cool thing. I remember as a kid seeing, and I was like, oh, that's Gary, I think.
Yep. He even had a 2-on-1 advantage, and he still lost. Crazy.
Maybe if he had 3, like the pirate guy, he would have won.
Oh jeez. Yeah, where was Blastoise and all that shit?
That is a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time, here's the thing though. Recently, every time I think of Blastoise, I immediately play that little voice in my head going, "Shush!" And it's just, I don't know, it just makes me laugh when I think about it. Just a little tangent. It's just childish fucking name to name your Blastoise, let alone your Squirtle.
Well, what did he name the she name the Blastoise again? Shell Shocker.
Shell Shocker.
Oh
Shell
yes.
Shocker.
They had some
And
other
Brew
names,
Brew
didn't they?
was-
Like they were like kind of
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, was it? Which one was
Something.
Brew Brew? Was that the Venusaur or?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
But I feel like naming them is. I don't blame them for naming them because I named mine.
I agree. Naming is better than
I'm
having
not
the original.
saying I'm not saying I blame them for naming them. It's just like,
They can do better.
yeah, pick a better name. Yeah, they can do way better. Shell Shocker. That's why he lost.
You know what?
So how do we feel?
Oh.
How do we feel about it? Movie.
Honestly, I enjoyed it,
Right.
but
Four out of
I
five
feel like I haven't
Pokeballs.
watched it since I was a kid. So a lot of things, like even like the last the trainers that showed up, there was only like 3 3 or 4 people that showed up. I thought that, like, I remember there being like a bunch more. Same with like the clone Pokemon. I remember there being a bunch more of those, but it's definitely it feels bigger as a kid kind of thing.
Same. I thought it was a lot more trainers in Pokemon.
And I will say one part that I was surprised by is just the look of it. Like a lot of the lighting in like some of the Mewtwo stuff, like his like base was like pretty cool looking. Like, oh, we're going by the tube, like the cloning tubes, and it's like green lighting on all the characters, or like red lighting. And I thought that was kind of neat touch.
I think the first one's real. I think it's like really good. I mean, it was made the year it was made. I mean, it had a lot of creativity to it. You know, they had a killer soundtrack. The soundtrack on the first movie was awesome. I mean, obviously, it had explored the basis of Mew. I mean, didn't have any plot holes or anything. It was just good animation for the year it was made.
I want to say, like, not like necessarily a plot hole, but like something that just kind of irked me is like they have to. I understand that part of it's just kind of they have to like make sure it kind of follows Anime Canyon. Is the fact that at the very end, Mewtwo's like, okay, I'm gonna erase everybody's memories of what happens here.
Yeah, he reverses time. Is that what happens?
I don't remember. I honestly, at the very end, I was like, okay, I'm gonna read something else while paying attention to.
Yeah, essentially, after Ash is resurrected, Mewtwo's like, we're bros now, and I'm not gonna kill everyone. And he takes everyone, and he teleports everyone back to the like, not Pokemon Center, wherever they were at the beginning.
Yeah, the safe haven.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, I don't remember any of this or anything. And it seemed like it was like he reversed time. Maybe he just wiped everyone's memories.
Yeah, I think he wiped everybody's memory. He's like, oh, we're bros now, and we know what bros do. They wipe away your memories. But yeah, I think that was just one of my biggest irritations. It's like, oh, like Ash doesn't remember any of this.
I think they kind of bring it up in the Mewtwo Returns movie, right?
I think so, yeah.
I don't really remember that one too much, but I think they kind of bring it up that they forgot. Any final thoughts?
I was looking at a little synopsis of that, but anyway, that's the point. Final thoughts. It wasn't as good as I mean, it was nostalgic. I definitely agree with. I felt that there was a lot more going on and a lot more people in Pokemon involved. Excuse me, and like that is true that it definitely felt like there was a lot more going on. Like when I was a kid watching it versus when I'm 32 years old watching it. But at the same time, it was still enjoyable. It was the first movie, killer soundtrack, tugged at the heartstrings a little bit when you saw Pikachu. Getting sad over not being able to see Ash again, or the thought of that. But then, actually, I don't know if there are any more buts. I think that was pretty much it. It was enjoyable to watch again. I'll say that. It was a nice little strap down memory lane.
Yeah, I would say it was enjoyable to watch again. There were some things that now, as an adult, like you kind of want things to like just be over with. Like, okay, let's speed this up here. And just some things that like Ash has too much plot armor in this movie. And I do like the fact that they kind of conclude, and again, I know you mentioned that this movie came out early before the anime ended, but it's the first movie, so obviously you're going to focus on the last 2 Pokemon in the Kanto Pokedex. So I like that they were the emphasis, of course. I mean, who else would they focus on? But overall, like, it's a good movie. The message that they kind of want to tell kids is good. But to say that it's the best movie, I don't know. I feel like it's not there.
It's too soon to say.
Yeah, it's too soon to say. I kind of I'm gonna like right now I'm gonna play it safe and say it's B territory. I don't think it's A territory. I feel like for a movie to be A or above, I think it has to be like firing all cylinders. I feel like it did fire some cylinders, but not all of them. And I'm gonna say it's a B for me.
Parth, want to give your thoughts?
Yeah, sure. I think in the same line of thinking, I wasn't disappointed, but yeah, I mean, it didn't really make me feel like I'm watching one of the great classics. I mean, I think the movie bears a lot of significance culturally and also just from a nostalgic standpoint for what was popular and how much of a big phenomenon it was when we were kids. But I will say, like rewatching it, it just felt too simplistic. But I get it. It's a kids movie. I thought the messaging was fine. I mean, for kids anyway. I'm sure parents at the time when we were watching it were probably thinking around the same thing. Like, this is a pretty watered down, simplistic message, but overall it's a positive one. And it's really about what type of impact it had on kids at the time, right? Because, I mean, I similarly thought there was a lot more going on in the movie. I thought it was intense. I remember crying to it even when I rewatched it. I mean, there's definitely a lot of serious elements to it. Kind of a side note, Mewtwo just straight up murders people in the movie, especially in the beginning. And I just thought that was kind of comical because, Team Rocket's gotten blown up a million times in the TV show. They've never died, but it was almost like implied that Mewtwo just completely wrecked, destroyed, and just murdered all those scientists that were experimenting on him. I will say there was a part of me that thought Ash was super badass and cool when I was a kid, especially in this movie, but it was just kind of cringe. Obviously, watching him as a grown-up, just knowing what a loser of a trainer he is for most of his career.
I would give it a C, honestly.
Alex, I'm talking. What the fuck?
Wait your turn, Alex.
And I think just in general, it makes sense. The plot armor, I think it was impressive to me and probably a lot of kids when we were kids. But yeah, overall, as a grown-up, it feels like a lackluster lesson with hollow messaging. But I guess it's good enough for kids. I do think the fact that Mewtwo got some profound meaning from Ash's sacrifice, so to speak. I think that was obviously the strongest part of the movie, or the most badass part of the movie, because he does just get in between two legendaries just going at it. So I'll give him some credit there, but he definitely didn't make as much effort to save all his other Pokemon as much as he did trying to save Pikachu, which, again, to me, is indicative of nepotism, another thing that he's guilty of as a trainer. And then last thing I'll say is I had a very morbid thought when Mewtwo picks up all the clone Pokemon at the end and flies off. I'm like, oh shit, he's taking all the clones to fly off and kill them all. Now that he's learned that these clones are needed. So I mean that's the dark thought that I had, but yeah, that's pretty much my final thoughts. I will say for nostalgic reasons, cultural significance reasons, I would put it in an A. But from a quality standpoint, it's probably more C tier.
C tier?
Jeez.
Yeah, obviously I just want to just point out, when we're ranking these, we're not ranking them culturally, we're just ranking them for the movies, because some of these movies never hit the big screens. So.
Well, I think it's fair to say that it's culturally it's A or S tier in
100%.
terms of impact. But from an enjoyment or entertainment or evaluation perspective, it's probably C for me.
So we got B, C, Purple. What was your rank again?
Honestly, I think I agree with Parth for the impact and for what it was, the soundtrack and just everything around it. I want to give it an A, but realistically, going through it a second time, it's more like a low B, high C.
Okay. Chris, Alex?
Yeah, I'll go next. Honestly, I think one of my favorite parts of this movie is the part that's cut from most of the movies, is the 10-minute Mewtwo backstory with the doctor's daughter who died. I really like that part, and I don't remember if it was. I definitely didn't remember if this was in or not. So, but I like showing it. It shows Mewtwo and other clones. There's a Charmander and a Bulbasaur and a Squirtle, and they're all like hanging out in this like clone world, and then slowly each one of the starters gets Thanos snapped away, and it's all that's left is the little girl, and then she dies too. So that was pretty sad part.
She doesn't even die. She just disappears, and it's like there's no closure or anything.
Well, yes, she's already dead, right? Presumably, she's already
dead. But it's like she makes this he makes this bond with these four beings, and then they just get ripped away from him. Yeah, so I guess Thanos snaps. But then it's like, imagine how heart wrenching that must have been for him.
Well, I mean, especially because that was literally all he knows, kind of thing. And then It's like, well, all my friends are gone, but I'll make my own clones that are better and don't go away.
I have two more thoughts that I forgot to mention that really, while I was watching the movie, I just was consciously thinking about. First one is
What's that?
The first one is as soon as Ash releases Charizard from his Pokeball, within seconds, Charizard just squares, like he's just ready to go. He's just side-eyes Mewtwo and just blasts him with Fire Breath. Like he's ready to square up. I just thought that was badass and indicative of why I, as a kid, really liked Charizard. It's because of his rebellious nature. Like part of me was always annoyed that Ash could never tame Charizard, because to me that was Ash's strongest Pokemon, and technically it was at the time. But yeah, I always had an obsession with Charizard because I just felt like he was a badass and rebel and couldn't be controlled. And then, despite how powerful and intimidating Mewtwo was, Charizard didn't give a fuck. He just, within seconds, just fire breathed at Mewtwo. And then the other thing was just the fact that, like, they said this like 3 or 4 times, like after the My Brother song. They're like, Pokemon aren't meant to fight like this, or they shouldn't be fighting like this. And I'm just like, this is kind of ironic and comical, because it's like, literally, like, it's a show about pets. Are you people taming animals and making them, like, fight each other? There's, like, memes about this. And then, like, all they were doing was battling. And yeah, I get they tried to make it seem like more serious, like they're fighting to the death. But it's just like, even during parts where it's just plain battling, you know, there's like, this is wrong. These Pokemon shouldn't be made to fight like this. And I'm just like, do you guys not have any self-awareness? Like, it just... I don't know. I just thought that was like funny commentary and dialogue. I feel like they could have maybe said it in a different way so that it didn't seem so like paradoxical or just hypocritical.
Yeah, it's like our dogfighting is cool, but your dogfighting, that's bad.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't know. I think they try to like cram those morals down our throat. In that Pokemon movie, like, they try to make all these lessons and morals at the end of the movie just for, like, all their minds to get erased. It was kind of, like, pointless at the end. Like, well, what was the point of all that? Like, the main characters didn't even learn any of the lessons because their minds were wiped. It was, like, irrelevant.
Well, yes, it was, like, Mewtwo learning lessons, right?
And yeah, it was just Mewtwo learning lessons. But Mewtwo, throughout the entire movie, was at like a bind between being a good villain and a fucking righteous villain and a bad villain. Like, he didn't even have his own identity in the movie, which kind of took away from the plot. Chris was saying his backstory was really impressive in the movie. I'm going to give this movie a B because of nostalgia. If it wasn't for the nostalgia and the soundtrack, it would be a C, but it was a B because it was the first movie. It did have impressive moments. The morals kind of killed it. All that fighting at the end kind of killed it. It's kind of dumb on that aspect. Without all that stuff, it would have been an A. But, yeah, I'm going to put it at a B just for the nostalgia, the music, and how powerful of a character Mewtwo was. So, yeah.
All right. And then...
Said it would have been A or S, but there was a lot of pointless points in that movie that were just like, this is stupid. So.
All right, and then my rating, I'm going to go with a B as well. Like we all said, nostalgia. Even like when this movie came out, like Pokemon was literally the biggest thing in the world at the time, and it's kind of crazy how big it was, especially like in North America. like how much it took off with the card games, the video games as well, and the anime. Just it was huge.
So we got four B's and a C, huh? All right. So
Well, I mean, you could average mine out because I kind of split my rating.
Yeah.
An A.
Yeah, you gave it an A for nostalgia and a C for reality.
Yeah, so I think I'm in alignment with you guys. It's probably like a B composite for.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
sounds good.
B seems fair.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how we feel about the other ones because I know one of them, like one of the earlier ones, is like one of my favorites. I'm curious to see how it holds up compared to when I watched it as a kid. But
Same.
we'll have to find out next time. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment your favorite Pokemon movie, and if you can beat the pirate guy with your team of starters.